Okay, we're going to get this meeting started this evening. If I could please have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Move on to the next item. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Only one. For item 2.1, we will also be swearing in Corporal Cano.
We have a motion to approve from council.
I motion to approve.
I second. Are you there, Shannon?
I am. Good evening.
Can we have roll call, please? Good evening, too.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock, Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Horn.
And I vote aye. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Tonight we have 3 different items. We're going to take about a 10-minute break after we get done with all 3 of the items that we have, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break. The police department has a cake out here for everybody as well, if you'd like to get some. So with our first one is going to be swearing in the sergeant, swearing in of Sergeant Damian Sparks, Sergeant Tony Henderson, Officer Daniel Sacita, and Police Technician 1 Veronica Sparks, and Corporal David Cano. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, staff, and community. This evening, we'll be officially swearing in a police dispatcher, a police officer, promoting 1 officer to the rank of corporal, and promoting 2 officers to the rank of sergeant. And Council, I just want to thank you for your support and the support of the community, because the department's growing, and it's growing to meet the needs of our growing community. So I want to thank you for that. At this time, I'd like to, Commander Young, you want to come up? Start off with our dispatcher, Veronica Sparks. Would you please come up to the podium? Veronica has been with the city of Kalinga for approximately 4 months. She has been married to Sergeant Damian Sparks for 20 years. They have 5 children from 25 years old to 3 years old. She started in law enforcement in 2002 as a police cadet with the Fresno Police Department. After several years with Fresno Police Department, she changed her mind and wanted to work in law enforcement, but not as an officer. She then worked as a dispatcher for the Fresno Community Hospital for approximately 13 years, where she left the hospital. When she left the hospital, she was a team leader and supervised the night shift. She was given the opportunity to work for the Kalinga Police Department, and she feels blessed to be here and doing what she loves to do. She wants to thank the city for giving her the chance to work here and hopefully retire here someday. So congratulations, Dispatcher Veronica Sparks. Next, I have Officer Daniel Sacita. Daniel grew up in Kalinga and lived here majority of his life. He developed an unwavering interest in police work from an early age, inspired by his father and uncle, who were both former Kalinga police officers. He eagerly rode along with them and even participated as an explorer at one point in time, gathering valuable exposure to the field of law enforcement. In June of 2021, Officer Sacita decided to get back to his hometown by becoming a dispatcher for the city of Kalinga. This role provided him with essential skills and insight into police work, as he worked closely with both officers and dispatchers. Dispatching solidified his determination to pursue a career as a police officer and helped him in starting his journey. In February of this year, Officer Salcida took a step towards his goal by enrolling in the police academy sponsored by the city of Coalinga. Embracing the opportunities to help people in more direct and hands-on way, Officer Salcida looks forward to making a positive impact within the community he knows so well. Officer Salcida is motivated to continue serving the city of Coalinga alongside his fellow officers and the community. Through his unwavering commitment, he strives to ensure the safety and the well-being of the residents, fostering a strong bond between the police department and the community. And I'd just like to say, since you started, Officer Salcida, you're at a good start. You're doing a great job. Congratulations. Thank you. Corporal David Cano. Corporal Cano was born and raised in the Central Valley. He graduated from Coalinga High School and Coalinga West Hills College with an AA degree in criminal justice. He put himself through the police academy at the College of Sequoias and graduated in 2016. He began his law enforcement career in May of 2016 with the Coalinga Police Department. During his time with the department, he held multiple specialty assignments that include school resource officer, field training officer, drone pilot, active shooter instructor, and acting sergeant. To better serve his community, he moved to Coalinga in 2020 with his lovely wife and boys. He was promoted to canine handler and corporal and is looking forward to growing his career and eventually promoting to a higher rank within the department. Congratulations, Corporal David Cano. Sergeant Tony Henderson. Sergeant Henderson comes from a family of officers, as his brother was a detective for the Merced Police Department and his other brother is a sergeant for the Lemoore Police Department. He followed in his late father's shoes as he worked as a reserve officer for the Coalinga Police Department. He graduated from the Fresno City College Police Academy before joining the Coalinga PD in 2019. With the assistance and the guidance of his mentor, retired Sergeant Manny Bulos, where are you? There. He spearheaded numerous high-impact cases which resulted in significant arrests, thus making the city of Coalinga a safer place to live. He has a passion for maintaining order and ensuring the safety of the community. He became a taser instructor, active shooter instructor, and a drone pilot. One of his proudest accomplishments is becoming a field training officer in 2021. In 2022, he was proudly sworn in as a corporal for the police department. During his time as a corporal, he placed a large focus on what it takes to be a supervisor in the law enforcement field. His primary goal as a sergeant is to make the community safer, so more families and businesses want to reside here, as well as he wants to train the next set of officers to be productive and safe. Congratulations, Sergeant Henderson. Sergeant Damian Sparks. Sergeant Sparks is a 9-year veteran in law enforcement, and he still loves coming to work and trying to make a positive difference in the community. He has been married to his wife Veronica for 20 years, and they have 5 children. Prior to coming to Coalinga Police Department, he worked for the Merced County Sheriff's Office, where he was a patrol deputy, SWAT team member, canine handler, criminal street gang investigator, and a member of the Sheriff's Tactical and Reconnaissance Team. Since coming here to Coalinga, he served as a patrol officer, police corporal, field training officer, and a canine handler. He loves being a canine handler, and he's glad to be partnered with Canine Boss. They work hard every day to ensure that the citizens of the city of Coalinga are getting their very best efforts to keep them safe and secured. He loves his love for his canine work. He transitioned to his time off where he trains police canines and other canine teams who work for various other law enforcement agencies throughout the Central Valley and the state. Congratulations, Sergeant Sparks. And he's working tonight, right? Okay. Okay. Hold on. Before the pinning of the badge and reciting the oath of office, I'd like to just call Officer Daniel Cecito back to the podium. Daniel, it is my great honor and request of your father, Simon, that you wear his badge proudly. So if you could give me the badge we had given you, and this is your badge, so your family and your dad have an opportunity to pin it in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Family members, we're going to take a few minutes. If you would come at this time, pin the badge, take a few photos, and then sit back on your seats. Okay? So then we can recite the oath afterwards. So please come and pin the badge. Good.
You can have them all stand together again for a picture. One more, one more. You stand like you're not afraid of each other, just a little tiny bit closer. Like you're having coffee at Starbucks yesterday. Okay, thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, now we're going to recite the oath of office. Please raise your right hand. Okay, and then when I say I, state your name, you state your names. I, state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental or reservations or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations. Mayor, that concludes the ceremony.
It's not loaded. Okay, now I'd like to call a couple people up. We're going to be doing our second item, which is a presentation of the West Hills College 25th Annual Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. So if I could please have Gina, and we also have a representative from Assemblywoman Soria's office as well with awards. Okay, So I'm going to read the first certificate, exactly what it is, and then for the rest of them, I'll just say their name and I'll state exactly what it's for. So it says in here, Certificate of Recognition, West Hills College, Coalinga, Class of 2023, Athletic Hall of Fame inductee awarded to, and they'll all be the same. So the first one we have is Brett Arce for football and basketball from 2008 through 2009. The second one is for Brett Arce as well, assistant men's basketball coach from 2012 to 2014. Next one is Brett Arce as well, assistant football coach for 2013 and 2014. Then we have Mark Arce for the head basketball coach from 2001 to 2018. Our next one is Mark Arce, interim athletic director from 2013 to 2014. Then we have Marvin Moss, basketball 2003 to 2004. We have Megan Arce for basketball administrative assistant 2010 to 2011. Then we have Raul Gazada, football and baseball from 1956 to 1957. And we also have Troy Arce, basketball 2015 to 2017. Congratulations to all of you.
So I just wanted to let everyone know that there was also Megan Arce. So one got missed, it's okay. Oh, you did? Okay, then I didn't hear you. I was doing something else with my ears. But I did want to say that, like, okay, so Troy Arce is the first one right here. He still holds the highest amount of wins of any varsity player in basketball in the history of Coalinga High School. And he still holds the record for assists at West Hills College in basketball. Brett Arce went on, he's currently coaching at Arizona State. And Mark Arce, of course, is retired. He's the father of them. And Megan Arce says she was a basketball administrative assistant, and that doesn't sound like much, but she currently holds the most prestigious athletic position of any graduate at West Hills College. She's the director of marketing for men's basketball at Duke University. And Marvin Moss went from here on to Montana State, where he played, and he's also inducted into his high school Hall of Fame. And Mr. Raul Casada played football with Willie Wood, who is a NFL Hall of Famer, and he was good as well. So thank you. We're almost sold out. We only have 20 seats left. If you want to go, better make do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item we have is item number 3, presentation from Unwired Broadband Fiber to the Home project in Coalinga.
City Council, citizens of Coalinga. So, my company, Unwired Broadband, we've been a fairly famous company, right? We're, I think everybody knows Unwired. We're the region's largest, or I should say the nation's 6th largest wireless company, and the area's largest, basically rural internet provider. And the company, as of late, has been looking at the state of broadband in the valley, and we've decided to pursue a large number of fiber to the home programs, specifically in cities like Coalinga, where folks are very underserved and maybe dissatisfied with their current provider. So what I'm asking for the City Council today is to approve a program for us to build out the city. It's approximately a $6 million investment. We'd like to bring a fiber to every home. We'd like to bring 2 fibers to every business. So about our company. Of course, we're an award-winning fixed wireless company. We're based, of course, here in the Central Valley. We don't outsource any of our technical support. All of our technical support is done by local folks. We also guarantee our speeds to be 75 to 100% of the advertised speed. And this is a little bit more about our company. We have 17,000 square miles of coverage from Stockton to Red Bluff. We have 187 towers that are strategically placed all across the valley. One of the big developments is that it will drive economic activity in the city. It'll increase revenues for the city. It'll retain homeowners. It'll increase home values. In my experience, most homes will see an increase of about 5% of their average value when you have a city fiber project like this. The other thing too, it'll give all the members of the city the ability to stream TV, video, movies without having that buffering. Sometimes that bothers people. And then of course, in cities like yours, who I believe are kind of younger, it'll also enable gamers to play and have a better experience. This is our project area. We're going to try to cover every square inch of the city. It's about 273,000 feet of build. There's going to be about 4,387 total passings. That's 3,928 single-family homes, 459 commercial buildings, and then as I guess a phase 2 of it, what we're going to do is we're going to leave fiber in front of every multi-dwelling unit, and there's about 873 of those. And then these are just some more some summaries. So basically, it's a total of 5,260 potential customers in the city that we're going to try to service. We're also going to make sure that we have 2 fibers at every anchor institution. And of course, these are colleges, medical, government buildings, et cetera, et cetera. We've already done all our pre-engineering plans, and one of the questions I was going to ask the city, I'd been actually speaking to Sean about this, is maybe some sort of a simplified permit plan, or maybe an expeditious permit plan where we can, what our engineering firm will do is they'll create basically the plan for the whole city, and then we like to just basically submit the whole plan to the city and say, here it is, and have your all's engineering firm look at it, and then give us approval. So the step 2 is once we provide that detailed overview, then we'll go to RFP, and we'll have our construction folks then, come in here. Basically, they'll have the plan, we'll have the timeline set up, and proceed. And then, once they complete that, basically building out the city, then we'll move to doing customer installations. We're going to bury, well, depending on what it is. If it's aerial construction, aerial drops, bury drops, but we'd also like to install as many folks as possible. The basic process is at every single home, let's say like you have a lot line, we'll place a flower pot or a handhole there, and there'll be a splice case there, or some sort of access point for the fiber. And then what we'll do is we will bury a drop to the house, and on the house we'll place what's called a NID, which is a network interface device. It's just a splitter. And then what we'll do is from there we'll run a piece of fiber inside the home to where we'll place our fiber jack. And then from there is where you would have like a beacon, which would be like your wireless access point, et cetera. We're going to offer video services, and of course also ACP, which is the low income, basically I guess be a discount on our broadband. The typical person, if they are approved for that, it'll be about $39.99 a month for 300 over 300 service. We're going to offer also 1 gig service. And our top tier for folks that really need high speeds or businesses, we're going to offer up to 5 gig over 5 gig service. Our long-term plan, our 5-year plan, is to eventually upgrade the network to be able to go 10 gig over 10 gig to every home. Typically, once we start construction, it'll take about 6 to 9 months to complete. And then somewhere like in about the middle of that plan, we'll begin installing homes and signing up customers, and we're going to be real interactive. We use a program, it's called Vetro Maps, And what it will do is as we basically complete construction and turn up, it's called a distribution area. And what we'll do is about 30 days in advance, we'll notify the folks that we're going to begin construction. It's going to have like one of those, and we'll do door hangers too. Let's say, please pardon our dust. And what they'll do is they'll notify them, and then of course they'll also begin signing up customers. And we'll try to basically day one, when that distribution area is lit up for service, we'll begin installing customers. At this point, I have a couple of requests for the city. Again, what I'm interested in is like a master encroachment agreement. What we're kind of looking to do is to have an agreement that says, hey, we're going to be in the public right-of-ways. We're a public utility. We're hoping that in the future, anytime a new business comes to town, a new home, a new subdivision, that since we're considered one of the important utilities for the city, that will be notified immediately so that everyone can get service immediately. Of course, once we're here, we're hoping you guys be known as a gig city, and gig city have all sorts of benefits in terms of businesses coming and new residents. Kids can do college from home, et cetera. Again, we're also requesting 0 or reduced permit fees or some sort of consideration to help us speed the deployment. I also have a real estate request. You guys have a park, I guess. I don't have a map of the city here. See if I got a map. Yeah, well, there's a park, I guess, when you're looking at north-south. It's kind of, I think it's on 33
It's
heading out towards the
Olson
east.
Park.
I'm sorry?
Olson Park on the east side of town.
Thank you, Mayor. Olson Park. Let's see if I can get. What we're requesting is a 10 by 10 foot easement, and there's power there, so I can place. That's where I like to place our central office, and that's the spot at which we will service the whole town. We have a wireless tower that's on the east side that has existing broadband service, or I should say backhaul to the internet, and we're going to bring a cable that way into there, and then we're going to come out of there, and then another company called VAST has internet service on the south side of town, and then this way our central office has diversity back to the rest of the real world. So there's we really pride ourselves in a very high uptime. Our current customers enjoy 99.99% uptime. And then, of course, I met with the chief, and I know that you have your, I guess, your community involvement or with all the multi-dwelling units, all the apartment complexes. And I was hoping we could work together to maybe do some introductions to make sure that we can service all of the apartment complexes and make sure that the homes get it, the businesses get it, but also all those folks too. And then these are just a sample of some of the other towns that we service. These are some of our customers throughout the valley. This is our leadership team. Peter Sorensen, he's our CEO. He founded the company in 2003. And then Matt Fiera, he's our Chief Financial Officer. And then John Wayland, he's our Chief Customer Officer. He's in charge of all of our sales. And then that's just my contact information. I didn't know if anybody had any questions I could possibly answer.
I have a question. What's the cause of, okay, so right now, my point is that if a customer right now that has, those satellites, if a customer wants, internet service for their home, are they supposed to buy the tower? Or how does that work?
Oh, this will be fiber to the home. What we're going
Right.
to do is we're going to place it inside the right-of-way of every street. And at the, let's say, for example, let's say there's a property line, let's say like here, and this is the public right-of-way, like the street is here. We'll have a flower pot right here with an access point. And then what we would do is we would send a crew out, and they'll bury a drop up to the house, and they'll place all the equipment on the side of the house, and then they'll do the wiring inside the home to where the fiber jack goes, and make sure that their internet works correctly, et cetera.
Yeah,
In front of every single home and address, we'll have a fiber access point for service.
Right. Well, my question is right now it's present as, right now, how people have their satellites.
This would replace that.
This will replace that. So
Yes,
they
sir.
don't have to buy a tower if they can't get it. Because I know if they can't get it,
I understand your point. You're talking
right?
about wireless,
And
yes,
that'll
sir.
be a little bit too
In
expensive.
in
Yeah,
your
I just want to make
city-
sure that they don't have to, I know a tower is really expensive for a household. And I want to make sure that they're not responsible for stuff like that. Where
Understand.
they can't get internet because they have to pay for a tower, or pay for a big old box, or pay for whatever they have to pay.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. No one will have to do that. It's my understanding. I don't think there is an installation fee. I believe that's covered. And then the service, after that, they're just responsible for the monthly recurring rates, which is, I believe it's $89 a month if it's 500 over 500. It's $109 a month if it's 1,000 over 1,000. I think it's $159 for 5,000 over 5,000. But again, there's that ACP too. So if they're low income, they can get $30 off any of those rates.
So the ones that are right now present, they're gonna go away? Or how does that work?
The wireless will still be there if they wish, but when you can get for probably the same money, 500 over 500, and the fiber really
So now the
pops.
ones that are supposed to get a tower, they have the choice to
Yes,
get the,
yes, sir, correct.
all right. Thank you.
So I just have a few questions. Who's funding this? Where are you guys getting the funding to do this?
Absolutely. So in the year 2021, the company was purchased by a company called O2. They're a large capital investment group. And right now, I believe we have, a credit line of well into the hundreds of millions. Your particular project is presently funded.
So are you going to be getting any of the money from the CUP for rural broadband?
No, sir, this is a self-funded project.
Okay. And then my other question is, are you going to be shooting, is this point to get the internet here in the first place? So like, for instance, are you going to be tying into an existing fiber that would be probably most likely owned by AT&T? Or are you going to be using your existing network that you have and beaming it in wirelessly and then going, because I know all about the VAST setup and I've looked at a lot of these different types of things where you shoot the bandwidth in and then you take it from there and you go fiber on the ground from there. So how are you going to be providing the fiber to get here in the first place?
We are not going to be using a wireless backhaul. We're going to be using a fiber backhaul.
Okay.
We'll be getting it, basically, we'll be getting probably initially circuits from AT&T and VAST, like I said, diversely to power the city. There'll be multi 10 gigs worth of bandwidth. We also have a full in-house network operations staff, and they monitor live all of the connections, the live connections to the internet. And we basically have agreements where our available bandwidth floats based on what we need, so that none of our customers have issues. We also guarantee our speeds.
So
Like some of the other folks.
will it be a shared network or no? Shared as in shared bandwidth?
No, sir. No, every home has a direct connection to our central office.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
So you're saying you're going to run it through the same fiber optic that AT&T has?
No, sir, I'm not. I'm saying is that AT&T has an interconnect to their global network, and what we're going to do is we're going to use our fiber to connect to their interconnect, which basically connects all over the place. Now, of course, eventually, we're also a member of the California Middle Mile program, and the middle mile is going to come right through your city, and so the eventual plan is to move it basically natively onto our own network using Middle Mile.
What's going to be the cost rough guesstimate on the little boxes, the rocks or plant or whatever it is that you want to put in the corner of each person's property?
You mean the handholds we're going to place?
Yes.
I think they're about $500 a piece, those little boxes.
Now, is that on the customer or is that on you?
No, sir. We're going to completely pay for and finance the network ourselves.
Okay.
There'll be no cost to the customer.
So what's going to be the average cost for service from low to high?
Sure. On the low side, let's say someone picks the 500 over 500 plan. They qualify for the low income, the ACP program, which, by the way, we almost have that up in place. That'll be $59.99 per month. And then if they do not qualify for that, then they still want 500 or 500, then it's $89.99 a month. And if they would like gigabit service, which is 1,000 over 1,000 speed, that's $109.99 a month. And then if they're a super user or they have to have the fastest speed there is, then 5 gig over 5 gig, I believe, is $159.99 a month.
So I guess I just have one more question. And don't take offense to this, but how does this make sense? Your existing network, you guys are making a killing off of with the charges that you're charging. And I've spoken to AT&T multiple times, and they say it doesn't pencil out to throw fiber into Coalinga. I mean, I've spoken to them at least 10 or 15 times, all the way to the regional vice presidents, and they've said not a chance. They said we could spend all the money in Coalinga and we will never get it back. So that's why I'm asking, where's the funding coming from, and how does this make sense to you guys to do this?
Okay. So we have O2 Partners, correct? And they're going to provide the capital. And I also used to work for one of those bigger companies like that. And those folks have a short turnaround. Their ROI typically is 2 years or less. The operation that I'm running, we have an ROI of 6 years. So the reason that this makes sense for us is we can make this capital investment, and when I have been asked to return the money back to the investors is 3 times longer time. That's why this financially makes sense for us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
Nick, come up.
It's my first time. Hi, I'm Nick.
Nice to meet you, Nick. I'm Jerry.
Lived here my entire life. So, my question is if you're tying into a box that AT&T is using, if something I
No, sir.
thought that's what you said. You're not going to use their fiber, but you're going to tie into something.
Okay, so there's a tower that's west of town, and there's also a company called VAST. They have a tie-in. And what it is the way the internet has been built is there are some companies out there that are not us. And what they've done is they've created these long-haul fiber optic networks that travel the world. And AT&T is one of those companies, and so is the company called VAST. And so what it is they have a spot, and let's just take AT&T. So they have that spot, that tower, and the best way to understand the internet is think of it as a pipe, okay? And let's say this pipe is capable of handling 100 gallons a minute, right? And so I say for my city fiber project, I say, well, I don't need a whole lot. I only need 10 gallons a minute. So what they're doing is at that pipe, they're sending 100 gallons a minute of volume, and I'm pulling off 10 gallons of volume that continues through. But their pipe continues. It feeds all the rest of the states and the country, and it travels into the world. And so, and then of course, it comes off the pipe into me, and then when you folks are using whatever water, let's say, when I put your water back in to travel down the pipe, it's another 10 gallons that heads out. So basically it's just a big network that just exchanges information.
All right. Well,
But we're gonna build our own network, our own fiber. Everything here is gonna be all built ourselves. We're just gonna use their connection to the outside world in order to connect you folks to the outside world.
that's what I heard. So if something
Into
happens to AT&T, does it affect your internet?
This is why we connect to the other network as well, so that we have diversity on another network.
Gotcha.
Typically, these long-haul lines, they never go down. If they do, that's why you have the other provider, because the chances of both of them going down is
But
astronomically.
there's always the chance.
Well, it's an act of God if that
Yeah.
happens, right?
I've been there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you keep bringing up VAST, and I know
The
that,
saying is they're just a backhaul provider.
oh,
that's
so
all.
they're just a backhaul, because VAST routinely offers the wireless backhaul solution. But you're saying they're not going to use the wireless backhaul to provide for you guys. They actually
No, sir.
own
We'll
fiber,
use
and
a-
you're going to get on the interconnect that AT&T has, and to start off and get your bandwidth like that to begin with, and then get onto your own. But I'm just wanting to be clear that you're not going to use VAST wireless backhaul to get it
No,
in.
sir, there'll be no wireless backhaul at all being used for the city.
Okay.
I can state that unequivocally.
Sorry, I know we have a lot of questions. I don't want to seem that we're not interested.
ask as many as you like. I'm
I
happy to
appreciate
answer.
it, so thank you so much.
Sir, thank you.
I got one last question. Have you tested their system to see if it'll even handle it through the existing fiber optic that we have? Because AT&T hasn't
No,
been able
no,
to.
we're not going to use anything that's from AT&T.
Okay.
We're going to build, it's a custom designed, custom engineered, completely separate network that we're going to build. It's going to be all of our own fibers, all our own network. We're going to place all the handholds, all the flower pots. We're going to have a number of, I believe we're probably going to have, if I had to guess, probably about 8 or 10 basically network boxes where we split the signals in the field, plus a central office. And then, of course, when we connect to the customers, we'll also place all brand-new fibers and brand-new connections to every single home, to every single business, and all new equipment on the homes, all new equipments inside the customer homes to do wireless or plug in their Ethernet cables, et cetera. Everything will be 100% brand new.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? I have one thing. Is it possible that we can get him the information and the contact for the park information? Oh, yeah. Okay. That way you have the correct people. A lot of people think that the city owns the parks, and we don't own, there's 2 parks here we actually don't own.
Okay.
So, and that's one of them, so.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mayor. And thank you, City Council.
Thank you for your time.
Do you have a card maybe that you could give us?
I don't have my card yet, but I'd be happy to share my contact info with you.
Excellent. If you could get that through Sean or Marissa, that'd be awesome.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, I was gonna call a recess, but I think everybody already left and took pictures. So we'll go ahead and just move on. Okay, our next item is citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No actions will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for a follow-up and a report. Citizens' comments submitted in writing to the city clerk by 5 p.m. on the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the city council and included in the record. However, they will not be read. We have anybody that would like to come up? Go ahead. You're okay. Certain stuff we're not able to answer at this time.
Okay.
We end up doing a follow-up. One of our staff will
Okay, what if
actually
it's
reach
really
out
simple, like who makes up the fees for police reports?
for,
So this time period is just for comments.
Oh, okay.
It's not for questions, but I'll quickly answer that for you. So the fees are generally updated annually, and they're approved by the city council.
Okay, okay, I hope this is appropriate what I'm gonna say. Okay, I was in a collision on July 10th, and I wasn't able to obtain the, other party's insurance information. I was on a bicycle. And so after waiting, I think it was like 36 days, for the police report to be done, I was told that I had to pay $55 even if I wanted the insurance information. And I know that according to California law, that the only fees that can be charged are like direct marketing, like in order to produce the report. So, I guess next time I come, I'll have you guys address like why it's so expensive. Because if you take a look and see, at other towns, how much their police reports are, ours is like 3 times as much. They're normally like around $15, $25. So I was just wondering why they're so high, because I've been struggling and I can't afford to get it, so that's all.
if you need a contact, right over here on the corner of the dais, there's some business cards, and right here next to the tape, the city manager's information is right there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Any other comments? Mary? By the way, welcome back.
Thanks.
It's good to see you walking.
Here from District 1. I just would like, at some point, if you guys could explain a little bit about the comments versus questions and being able to talk about items that come up during the city council meeting. Because I know there's cards or something, I've never seen one, but I've heard they exist. And my question, I guess, is, if we don't know what's going to be said before something comes up, how do we know if we have a question so we can fill out a card ahead of time about something if we don't know what's going to be said? Or are we free to put our hands up, or how does that work? I'm confused.
So under city manager's announcements today, I'll use my announcement time to explain that process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Council? Okay, we'll move on to our next item, public hearings. We have none. So we'll move on to item number 5, the consent calendar. We have 14 items this evening. What would council like to do?
I'd like to pull item 5 point, is it 5? Yeah, 5.9.
Anything else? Good, okay. Move on to the one an item. 5.9, Councilman Vosberg.
Yeah, I would like to bring this back in the form of a resolution, if possible. That way we can kind of see what it means, and then we can vote on it. That way we can, and it may take a couple times of bringing it back till we agree, but that way that we can make sure that it's exactly what we want and not like trying to micromanage anybody, but just allowing us to be involved in the process.
So you want to pull it and table it until we get the rest of the information and have staff continue to work on it?
What is the correct term for doing that? If we would just want to take this item and we want to turn it into a resolution, would that be tabling it, bringing it back as a resolution?
You could do either one. You can table it and bring it back as a resolution, or you can approve it with the consent calendar just so that it's in place, and then direct us to also bring back a resolution to formalize it.
Let's do that.
All right, yeah, I'm fine with that.
So if you want to make the motion to approve the consent calendar, but with item 9 also directing staff to bring back a resolution to formalize it, that would be great.
I'll make the motion that we approve the consent calendar and we bring back 5.9 as a resolution.
And I'll second that. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilman Vosberg,
Aye.
Mayor Horn,
Aye.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez,
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, number 6, ordinance presentation, discussion, and potential action items. We have 4 items this evening. First one is going to be discussion, direction, and potential action regarding a memorial for Rudy Flores. Marissa.
Thank you. So this item was requested as a future agenda item by Councilman Vosberg. And I know that there are some people in the audience today that were very close with Mr. Flores. So I have an item where I have a suggestion within the staff report, but it's on here for discussion because it doesn't necessarily mean that my idea is the best idea for a memorial. So it's here for you to discuss. The city does have a I don't even know what to call it, a triangle piece in between some streets that we have over near the Calneva office. So my suggestion was to place some sort of a memorial there because it is closest to the office that he worked at. And so when his coworkers drive by that daily, they would see it, whether it's a tree or a bench or something that we can install. But I'll turn it over to Councilman Vosberg in case he has any other ideas or he'd like to invite anyone up to speak with maybe what their ideas are.
Yeah, so Rudy made a huge impact on this town. A lot of us got the chance to know him right when he got here and start working with him. And the things that he did for the town with the internet, I sincerely believe that we would be in the Stone Ages. You know, we reached out to AT&T so many times. I mean, whether it was with me with the library or whether it was the Broadband Consortium or the city council, we brought them in and they basically did nothing and told us that there was nothing they could do and that they weren't going to. And when Calneva came in and said what they were going to do and then actually did it, you know, I watched Rudy work 24/7 for this town. And I truthfully believe that he gave his life for this town. And so that's why I put this on there. And I believe that it's not just my idea. This is a shared vision of the council. So I don't want to take credit for that. I was just the person that put it on. But what I did want to make sure is that we made sure that we worked with the Calneva crew to make sure that whatever we did, one, was fitting for what they would see, and two, I know that, you know, I don't want to do anything sometimes when people see things over and over again, it's painful for them. And so I don't want to do anything that's going to harm a situation either. So I'm actually wondering what would the best idea be? You know, would it be a great idea to put something to where that they would see every time that they come by? Or would it be a better idea to put it somewhere else? And so since we do have a couple of the members here, I'm not going to request that somebody come up and talk, but if they would like to, I'd like, if it's okay with the mayor, to give them a chance to see what their thoughts on this would be.
Good.
Okay, so looks like we got to go.
And does anybody have a preference? So I think I had mentioned in the staff report, the intersection is the triangle median at Baker, Grant, and Elm Street. And we could do something such as a plaque, a bench, or a tree. Is there any preference on any particular item?
Just so everybody knows, that's the triangle right next door to Tropicana grocery store. You're talking to us or to them? Do we need to do a vote? Yes, go ahead and come up. Come up to the microphone.
Christina, I work for Calneva. I knew Rudy Flores during the last moments of his life. Between Cindy Harrell and Rudy Flores, they taught us a lot. Ms. Jones did present something, and I didn't think it was a thing. Permission to approach. She said that people go to this phone booth and they speak to their lost loved ones. Just have a moment with them. I don't know if that's a thing that we can do, but I think it's a wonderful idea.
We can definitely look into something like that. The only problem with that is the area that it's at, and there's a lot of high school kids and a lot of younger kids that go by there, and if it's glass, it's going to break. So, but we will, if you'd like to, just come in and get with either Sean or Marissa and give them a few ideas, and then we can figure out a cost.
If,
want to contribute possibly to whatever is decided. They've reached out. So it wouldn't be a total cost incurred, whatever. And I really am okay with the tree or bench or whatever.
So why don't we get some items together, and then I can sit down with you, and maybe there's one that you like best, and then we can put it on the council agenda for them to approve that specific item.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? No?
I got one. I think with an addition with that, if we do get a booth, can we get a plaque where it says the significance of what he did for this community? That way, in case any kids want to read it, they actually realize, hey, you know, because of this individual, we have what we have right now with service.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2, discussion, direction, and potential action regarding purchasing and installing communication signs at Centennial Park and Sandalwood Park. Marissa.
Thank you. Larry, are you able to pull up the attachments with the examples of the signs?
Sure. 1 second.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion that we table this item and bring it back? This was Councilman Headcock item?
It was, but I spoke to him before the meeting.
And he's okay with moving forward?
Yes.
Okay.
So this item was requested by Councilman Hedgecock. There was a community member who reached out wanting to see if we could get these signs placed in the city parks for children who are unable or have a difficulty communicating verbally. And so she had approached the city and also the Parks and Rec District, and Mallory with the Parks and Rec District was very helpful. And she applied for a grant with the hospital district, not only on behalf of the Parks and Rec District, but also on behalf of the city. And we just found out Tuesday evening that that grant was approved. So we will be getting the signs at no cost through a grant from the hospital district. And so we just need permission to have them installed once they're ready at Centennial Park and Sandalwood Park.
Is it possible to add something similar, not with all of the equipment, but something like that at Frame Park as well? Because that's where a lot of citizens are, depending on what the events that we have. Is it possible to do, if we're able to?
We can look into it. They're generally focused on play equipment and at parks that have play equipment. And so we didn't include Frame Park because we don't have play equipment there. But we could look into the cost of getting a sign there if you'd like.
Can you tell us which kind you're getting?
I don't know yet.
She says she doesn't know yet.
All right, and Councilman Schindler also had a great idea that we put this at the new splash part as well.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item. Number 3, discussion regarding council rules of procedures. Marissa.
Thank you. This was requested as a future agenda item by the mayor, so I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
I had this brought up. It's to go over one item. A lot of the state laws and rules for a lot of the councils, when it comes time for us to discuss certain things, we have a lot of citizens that want to come back up and ask questions. I just wanted to clarify exactly what it was and why.
Do you want me to explain
Yes,
now?
please.
So generally, the way it works now is you've all been here since the start of the meeting, so you saw that during citizens' comments, you can stand up and you can make a comment on anything within the jurisdiction of the city. We also have comment cards that are over there on the wall, Mary. I think they're in English and Spanish, and there's a sample there of how to fill them out, and there's pens there. So if somebody wants to make a comment on something on the agenda, whether it's the consent calendar or an item that's going to be on discussion, they can fill out that card, and you don't write what your comment is. You just say, like, I want to comment on 6.3 and what your contact information is, and then give it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. So the process is that when the council goes through the agenda, so hypothetically say that you wanted to speak on 6.3, which is what the item that we're on right now, we would have a discussion, and if there was any presentation, that presentation would take place. And right before the council took their vote on that item, the city clerk would ask that person to come up, like, Mary Jones, you submitted a comment card for 6.3. Can you please come up to the podium to make your comment? So I think there's some confusion of what if somebody says something that we didn't know we were going to want to comment on, or we were going to ask a question, but you're not doing that until the very end, right before the council vote. And so if there's something that you think that you may want to comment on because it's an interesting topic to you, or you're going to have a question about something, I would just fill out the comment card, give it to the city clerk. If she calls you up and you no longer have that question because it was answered in the presentation, then just tell her you don't need to come up any longer.
Council have any questions on it?
Yeah, are those cards available on the internet, on the website and the app?
They're not on the app or the website because they'd still have to print them out and hand them to Shannon. We can place them on the website, but she opens the council meeting doors an hour before the council meeting starts so that if anybody wants to come in early to fill out a comment card, they can.
So I would like to modify it just a little bit to say that instead of they have to fill out the comment card before the 5:30 deadline, that they can fill out the comment card anytime all the way up until the vote. That way that we do, because just like Scott was saying last time and Mary was saying, they don't know if they're going to want to comment. And so I think that's a fair give, that we still using the comment card, but then if they at the last second decide, hey, I want to say something, then they can fill out that comment, because a lot of times people don't know until we get into it. And I think that's something fair. And then, interestingly enough, I have one more thing that I want to throw into here, and it's very small, but it's just kind of a budgetary constraint. I want to add a section in there that addresses, and since we're just make this one little change with the comment cards so that they could bring them up till the item, till the vote, I also want to put a little item in there that addresses the council budget, that basically just leaves a line item in the budget for each district so that we know where we're at. Because sometimes when we're thinking about, are we going to go on this training, or are we going to go on this thing, we want to be able to say, okay, well, this district has this much left, this district has this much left, okay, we're going to be able to afford to go. And if we're not going to be able to afford to go, then it gives us time to come back to council and say, okay, well, can we get more money put into this so that we can do this? And so I would just also request that as well, and that would come with like maybe a quarterly update from council to council via email, so we would know where we're at. Because I know that I was thinking about, hey, like, I would want to go to the retail thing, but I don't know how much is left in that account from the last time around. I know it did restart, I think, during the fiscal year, but I just want to put that in the code of conduct. I don't think that's too, it's just some informational stuff. So if everyone could agree with that,
Yeah, I'd like to add in too that if we're getting close to the budget, if possible, we bring it back the meeting before or 2 meetings before and possibly approve temporary just to cover it.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the reason I brought it up, because that way we know, that way we don't have, because there's been times where people want to do something and we don't know where we're at as council. Maybe the city manager knows, but we don't know, and then we don't have a lot of time to come back and say, okay, well, we want to attend this. And sometimes that stuff's really important, like the retail events and things like that.
Yeah, so just so the public's clear about what he's talking about, so the council's travel and training budget is going to be 101-401-86010. It's one account number. And we determine that they set a dollar amount per council person, which hypothetically, let's just say it's $3,000 a council person. Don't hold me to that, because that might not be right. And so what's reflected in that budget line item is like $15,000, because it's the 3,000 times the 5 council members, but they each have an allocation that we track on an Excel spreadsheet. So like I would know how much money he had left for travel and training for the rest of the fiscal year, but that's not something that they see regularly. So unless they come in and ask for it, they don't know how much money they have left. So that's what his question is just to be able to give that to them regularly so they can see what they're spending and what they have money left with.
By the way, you've got 5 council that sit here that are extremely go-getting. They're getting involved with a lot of these conferences and getting as much training as they possibly can to bring it back to Coalinga so we can actually benefit all together. So we are working on that together.
So is the direction to go ahead and make those changes to the code of conduct to bring it back for consideration and approval?
Yes.
I just need one other person to nod yes, yeah? Okay.
Okay, we'll move, oh, go ahead.
Do we have to?
I just need a direction, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, we'll bring it, when we bring it back, then we'll finalize. Okay, move on to our next item, our announcements. First one is city manager.
Sorry, we have one more. Regarding the storage of inoperative vehicles.
Yes. Item number 4, discussion and direction regarding storage of inappropriate vehicles. Marissa.
Thank you. So this item was requested by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez as a future agenda item. And the way that the code is currently written is if you have an inoperative vehicle, it has to be stored either in your garage or behind a solid 6-foot fence. It cannot be stored in your driveway for more than 14 days, and it cannot be stored on a city street for more than 72 hours. And the way that we determine if it's inoperative is if the registration is expired, it has flat tires, it has a bunch of cobwebs and is really dirty, or sometimes it doesn't even have wheels on it and it's just on cinder blocks. So that's how we make a determination of if it's inoperative. If you have your vehicle backed up, we don't go on your property to check your tags, so we won't know if the tags are expired. And if you keep it clean, we don't know that it doesn't operate. So those are really the keys there. But there was a request to make a change to this item, and so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez.
So the reason why I wanted this to be looked at is that time has changes. A lot of families are starting to have kids that are starting to drive. A lot of the kids are not moving out due to a lot of prices, inflation, rent is going up. So, as a kid grows up or a family grows, they end up with, multi-vehicles. Some of these houses have turned their garage into living spaces. Also, too, there's now that the school has a mechanic shop and they're starting to learn how to do that. I was approached by a family member, a school member that has a kid that wants to work on a car, but he's been cited. And he, different occasions where they want to work on their car, on their driveway. But I wanted to change, if you have a driveway and it's on your driveway, it's okay to have it. Because, like I said, times are changing and rent is getting high, where these kids are moving in with their parents or the family's getting bigger. And if a kid wants to work on his car and, it's an eyesore for somebody, I don't think it's fair that that kid or that individual gets to work on their car. I understand if they're piling up a mortar on top of it, boxes, and I understand that. But I just wanted to fix the language on it where it's okay to store a vehicle on your driveway. So that's basically the area, the path that I'm going with this, where somebody doesn't have to worry about moving or storing their car or paying a rent fee because they can't keep their car on their driveway. So that was my suggestion for it.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, wouldn't that be okay already if the car was well kept and currently licensed and registered?
Yes, if the car's kept clean and either registered or we can't see the registration.
Which means, without meaning it, back in.
Yeah.
Can't see the tags.
So, I have a quick comment on this. So I think the idea of this entire thing is that we don't want blight around the neighborhoods. And you have residents who don't want to look over and see a car that is has cobwebs on it or, is something undesirable. But personally, I don't see that there's a difference in between whether the car is registered or not, because I see tons of vehicles. I just don't think that's a deciding factor, because I see vehicles that are there that have cobwebs on them, that have boxes on top of them, that are not, that are registered, but they're just eyesores. And so I would like to see us change it more in the apt of, hey, if this is an undesirable thing, then maybe that's what we should focus on, is the fact that the car is dirty, the car has stuff on top of it. This car shouldn't be there. But here's the thing that I found in owning a car that I wanted to fix up, is that once you don't pay those non-op fees, it's almost, the DMV is almost impossible. So you're not gonna wanna pay those huge non-op fees just to start working on a vehicle. And so, it kind of makes sense to me to allow people to bring up some of these vehicles, to allow them to work on them, to get them up to shape, because then they could turn around and sell them, or they could turn around and use them. But I think the main deal here is that we don't want blight, and I don't want blight either, and I don't want to look over to my neighbors and see, all kinds of stuff. But I am seeing that right now, And I think it's coming from all vehicles. It's not whether or not that they're registered or not. And I think that the only thing we have is our private property. And like Pro Tem Ramirez said, a lot of people have moved their relatives into their garages, and it's called a California garage or a California hotel. And it is, with the economy going the way it is, it has been a thing. And then we approved the JDUs and ADUs, and we're encouraging that type of activity for people to move into garages and stuff. What I don't want to see is our actions have negative impacted effects. And so, but I think if we did this correctly, that we could probably find a compromise in between to say, hey, we want to allow people to be able to work on their own stuff in their own, place, because some people don't have the ability to get a 6-foot fence and get behind it, or their garage is full of someone's living there. But we're going to make it to where that, hey, if you have stuff that is, has cobwebs on it, it's not clean, it has boxes, that's the stuff that we would target. And so I don't know how we make that happen, but that's just my idea. Or that's actually, me and Pro Tem Ramirez met with the city manager and kind of went back and forth with some ideas. And I don't have a solution, and I don't think we came up with one, but we just came up with some ideas.
I have a suggestion. What about doing like a 90-day permit? If they're going to be working, if they know they're going to be working on it for a longer period of time, they could have a permit or something that they can post inside the vehicle. That way, if code enforcement or somebody does come by, they can see that it is permitted to actually stay there, as long as it's kept up.
Well, I just suggested it's your driveway, and regardless if it's registered or not, it's your driveway. That's the thing. If you look at the Smog Bar Corporation, the DMV is selecting actually cars that have to go to a star smog. So we have only one, and it's packed. So sometimes even these cars are not getting smogged, not because they don't want to fix them. It's because it takes a long time because the bar is setting so many emission rules on them. So if a car, it's not about the car not being registered, it's because of the way things are going with the state and the bar of smog administration. They don't allow them to, it's not like the 1980 car where you could just bring it in and that's it. Now it has computer, smog, everything. Every little thing has to be in, and these folks can't pay that much to a DMV. And if they have it kept on their driveway, it's their driveway. It's their driveway. I'm not gonna go to a person's house and say, I don't like the color of your house. That's their color of the house. It's their driveway. As long as it's not in the front yard, that's fine. It's your driveway, and it's regardless. I understand, like I said, I understand if it has boxes on top. If it has boxes on top, it's being kept as storage, then there could be a notice, hey, I think we need to clean up your car, if it's unregistered, okay, it's unregistered, but you gotta clean it up. I think that's fair enough.
I know there's one thing you kind of got to look at too is the dwelling is permanent. The vehicles aren't, they're mobile. Whether they're running or not, they're still considered mobile. I don't know, Chief, if driveways, does that considered easement from the street for you to be able to go and view?
Well, the driveway, again, in the ordinance that we have right now, it's strictly to deal with blight. So from the street, if it's parked on the street, it's 72 hours. If it's parked on the driveway and it's cobweb with flat tires, it gives an opportunity for the code enforcement to enforce that. Whatever the council decides, but deciding not to do anything on the driveways on those vehicles will cause a lot of other residents to probably start doing that, and it'll be more of an eyesore, and you'll get more complaints.
Yeah, I know some of the issue is when they're working on them, usually they have them pointed front first into the driveway, so that way they can work on it. The tools are closer, everything's more convenient. But backing it in and cleaning it would, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, but there's no language pertaining how you park your car in a driveway.
Right.
And I just want to clarify too, if there was a clean car that looked like it was operational and it just had expired tags, it's not getting cited. It's if there's factors that lead us to believe it's inoperable, because the registration's expired and it has spider webs on it, or it's dirty, or things like that. So it's not just like if your registration is expired and it's parked in your driveway, you're gonna get a citation.
So I guess what I'm trying to do is add more teeth into this instead of less, because what I'm saying is that people that have blighted vehicles, if they're registered, seem to get a special pass than someone that's not registered. And I'd like to twist it around and say, hey, the registration status isn't what we're going after here. We're going after, because it's in your own driveway. You should be able to put what you want in your driveway, as long as it's not something that's blight. And so I'd like to swap it around and say, no, we're going after the blight directly. So if you have a blighted vehicle, whether it's registered or not, I mean, why should you get more rights on having a blighted vehicle if it's registered than not? I see that that should be that's backwards. And so I would like to change that and say, hey, we don't want the blight around. And I think we could actually give code enforcement more power, because now they can go after vehicles that are blighted, that are registered. And I think that would actually fix a lot more of the issues, because right now we have a lot of people that have vehicles that are in horrible conditions, but they're registered, so they get to, skirt by. And I don't think that's fair, because if you have someone that's not registered, heck, by the law, they're not allowed to be there, but if they keep their car clean, they're still not allowed to be there. So I'd like to just make it like, hey, we're going after what we're really going after, which is the blight. I don't know how this happens. Maybe we could have staff come back with some ideas, and then we could choose from some ideas. And that, we're not saying anything today. We just say, hey, bring back some ideas.
I mean, it sounds pretty simple to me. You keep it clean, keep it presentable, and there's not a problem. You're not getting complaints.
And can we see if it's possible to have code enforcement here that evening as well? That way, if there's any questions, she might be able to answer as well.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's not public streets, it's your driveway that I'm talking about. If you have a vehicle on public street, then that's ordinance and ordinance, that's public street. But what I'm talking about is your driveway. There's a lot of people starting to not afford a $92,000 Escalade when they could go get a 2001 Civic that they could fix up in their car. So I'm just, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't go to the neighbor's house and say, hey, I don't like the color of your house, go paint it. If it's my driveway, I pay property taxes, I pay state taxes, and I think that's your driveway. Unless it's spilling oil, gas, or it's being a hazardous thing, then I understand it. But if it's sitting there and it's an eyesore for somebody, then it's an eyesore for somebody. I'm not gonna go to the house and say, hey, your color, I don't like it, that's not my favorite color. That's an ugly color, no. That's your house, you pay taxes, you have your opinion, and that's what it is. But I believe that it's your driveway, is your driveway.
So I'm gonna need some clear direction from the council, so at least a majority, because we're sort of hearing two different things. One is we want less strict rules, and another is we want more strict. And so if three of you can give consensus on what ideas you want us to bring back to make it stricter or to lessen it.
I'd say just simplify it, more or less. Keep it clean,
Yeah,
and
keep
there's
it
no
clean, yeah.
complaint. As far as having trash in your driveway and old cars, it's really not you it affects. It's the people around you, their property values, what they got to look at. So you got to think of that too. So you keep it clean.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. No box, like, you can't put boxes on top of it and if it's a vehicle, just a vehicle, I mean,
So
keep it clean.
one of the things that's difficult is we can't use vague language in the municipal code, because like your opinion of clean may be different than my opinion of clean. And so right now, the way it's written is very specific. And I don't know how to simplify it further.
So just eliminate the tags requirement.
There isn't a tags requirement.
But-
There is no tags requirement.
But it sounds
What
pretty simple how you're going after it. You've just stated all the things you're using. You're going after whether or not they have, whether or not it's got flat tires, whether or not it's got cobwebs and spider webs. What I'm saying is it's not fair for someone that's tagged to get by and someone that's not tagged to not get by. I'm saying we switch that around and we say, hey, nobody gets to do that, period. If your car's a blight, it's out. But we don't discriminate against someone because their car's not registered. Because if it's not registered and it's in good looking shape, that shouldn't bother anybody. And so we should.
Well, and that is what I said. That is not a sole factor. So if you have an unregistered vehicle in your driveway and it's clean, nothing happens. It's, if there's a combination to lead us to believe it's inoperable, like it's unregistered, it's dirty, and it has spider webs on it, then we consider it to be an inoperable vehicle. So it's not just if the tags are expired. People drive around with expired tags all the time.
So in the ordinance, it doesn't specifically relate to inoperable as in being not tagged?
No.
So you have a clear defined rule on what's inoperable?
So it's justifiable things that if it went to a judge because they were fighting a ticket, we could say it appeared to be inoperable because it wasn't registered with the state, it had spider webs on it, and 2 inches of dirt.
So you're using the not registered with the state as one of your things, and what I'm saying is that I don't think that's fair. I think that the rest of the stuff should be what's used, but the registered with the state portion, I don't think that's fair. It's your driveway. Why should you not be able to have something in your driveway? Period. That's not fair to use that. And if we were,
But that one thing in and of itself is not.
I understand, but we're using that as a tool.
If we notice it's expired. So if not, if the same thing already applies. So if there was a car that was dirty and had spider webs on it, even if it was registered, we would still send an inoperable notice. But if it is not registered, we note that because that's another factor that can be
So can we just
shown.
take that factor out then, and we'll be good with everything else?
Well, we will always include it if it is expired, but we still send the same notices even if it's not expired. It would stay, like, for example, if Sean has a car that is not registered and has spider webs and is dirty, and the chief has one that is registered, they still get the same notice. It's just his notice will say it also appears to be inoperable for the following reasons. Sean may say, well, it does work, and come over to my house and we'll start it, and then we have to void it because it's an operational car. So they still get the same notice. We already do that now.
Hold on, you said if they'd have to start it to prove that it's operational?
If they can turn it on and they can drive away in it, then it's operational.
See, that's what I don't like. I don't think you should need that. You shouldn't need that. That's not fair.
That's their argument if they want to dispute it. So if we view that it's operational, if it's inoperable, and they're able to prove it is operational, then we would void their notice.
Well, I mean,
And-
I see people leaving their trailers in their garage, in their places all the time, and that's one of the biggest annoyances ever. And those things don't move, they don't go nowhere, they just sit there for 100 million years. And just because they clean them out, it's no big deal? I don't agree with that. I think that we should.
And that is what the code currently says. You can store a motorhome or a travel trailer in your driveway.
Right, so I'd like to include non-op vehicles in the same fashion as that.
So this was a big discussion years ago regarding travel trailers. I've been here long enough to experience some of these things. That was a big contentious discussion about not allowing travel trailers to be parked on driveways. As long as they're clean, they're covered, they're stored. The code typically allows any type of vehicle, whether the intent when you look at there, and there's 2 sections in the code regarding inoperative vehicles. You have the property maintenance section, but then you also have Title V, which is a state law that talks about abandoned, wrecked, dismantled, or inoperative vehicles. And it's very explicit in terms of what all of those are defined as, whether, it basically starts deteriorating property values, and invades, plundering, which is the term in here, it's kind of an old school term, creates fire hazards, public, nuisance to younger folks, cars are on jack stands. That's a huge safety hazard, even though it's on private property. So it's pretty clear in terms of what an abandoned, wrecked, dismantled, or inoperative vehicle is, but our code does specifically talk about recreational vehicles because we specifically defined what a recreational vehicle was, where they could be stored, whether it be in a driveway or on an improved surface or behind a 6-foot fence. So when we talk about recreational vehicles, these are things that have been on the books for a while, and there's a lot of people that park recreational vehicles on their driveways.
And
But
there's a
they're
lot
not
of-
in a blighted condition. But if they are, then code enforcement will definitely write them up.
So I'd like to see the same thing with vehicles as that, because some people, I know a lot of people in town are unhappy about the fact that they have to stare out of their window and look at a recreational vehicle all day. I'm just saying, like, you have property rights, or at least you should. I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, can we just bring back some ideas and maybe we can go from there, and then we'll pick out some stuff. I think staff has a general idea of what we're looking for. I mean, we don't want to I'm not trying to drag this out.
I have a quick question. When have we decided when the next committee meeting is going to be for code of conduct and, or I mean, code enforcement? The officers, the beautification stuff? 25th of this month? Okay. Is it possible that we can bring that item to the citizens? I won't be here, and I think all council won't be here for that meeting. But at least get the information and bring it back to us with the ideas and suggestions of what they'd like to see and what they don't want to see. That way we can kind of use it a little bit to base our decision, please. Okay. Does that work okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of the people that might utilize this won't attend these meetings. And I fear that we'll get a one-sided view. I really do. I don't think people that are on Pleasant Street that have a car that they're going to try and fix up for their 16-year-old kid to use is going to attend that beautification meeting. And so we're going to get a one-sided view, and it's not going to include a lot of people. And I would like to, I mean, if that's the case, I would absolutely like to have council members there. And especially if it's going to be an item from Pro Tem Ramirez, I'd like him to be there. So that we're going to bring that up at that point in time.
He'll be out of town.
So maybe a different time.
I also want to just point out that if you make changes to the ordinance, there's going to be public hearings anyway. So I do think that it would probably be better to have that discussion with citizens at a different meeting other than October 25th. But then in addition to that, any change to that ordinance would have public hearings associated with it. So people who were not present at a committee meeting would be able to come to the public hearing to make comments or submit something in writing.
And I just want to make clear for anyone who's listening, this isn't a thing we're trying to, that I personally am trying to make it look worse. My idea is that we can make it look better by making sure that blight is a deal that we're attacking, but we allow for people's property rights to exist in that same space.
Tom?
My name's Tom Dominguez. You guys were working on my ADHD there, trying to be patient. My dad did LA County regional planning. The last few years of his career, they put him out in the field doing code enforcement as a member of a county strike team with law enforcement and probation and all those other different county departments. The intent that he was given was, it's not necessarily one vehicle that's inoperable on the property, but the intent was to address people that collected cars in their front yard. And they were doing auto repair, unlicensed auto repair, and they were storing cars for friends. So if you're looking at one vehicle, there's a little wiggle room there, but it's the number of vehicles and the condition of the vehicles, because you're trying to prevent storage. You're trying to prevent the unlicensed business happening. So, thank you.
Mary?
I know there's not a lot of people in this situation, but like on my block, we don't have an alley. I have had neighbors have to sell their boats that they had because they can't put them in their driveways. We can't put them into a yard because we don't have access to the backyard that way. So people on those blocks without alleys what are they supposed to do? And then, in addition to that, just a side note, when I was in the hospital with my broken leg and my husband had COVID, we got a warning because our car hadn't been moved. I'm like, well, let me just wheel down there and I'll move my car for you, a mile or whatever it had to be moved. It was, so I just like to think that we have we can think through some ordinances and problems that we have. I don't know how many blocks there are without alleys, but it really is a big problem. We can't access anything. Like even hiding the trash cans sometimes, that's tough.
Nick?
So just recently, I actually got a warning, like she was saying, and I have a truck parked in my driveway in my alley, and I got warned for it because the tags were bad, and it was dusty. So I cleaned it up. Am I still gonna get in trouble for it? I mean, it's inoperable. It's not tagged, but it's in my driveway. I can't put it in my garage because I have 3 side-by-sides. 2 in my driveway next to it, 1 in the garage. So
If it's clean, no.
do I have to take the license plate off so that you guys don't know it's in,
No, because you won't get a notice simply for expired registration. It's if it's
Well, it was said that it
unregistered and dirty.
Yeah, it said that it was making the area ugly, but it's in my driveway in the alley. It's not even in front of my house.
Is it fully in the driveway or is
All
it
the way in the
partially
driveway.
out?
It's not even
And
hanging
it's
out in
on,
the alley.
and it's on proved surface?
Yep, it's concrete.
I mean, I don't know, he said it was dirty, so that's.
I think when
I mean, it was dusty.
I think when I get back from Texas, I need to get with you and me and you come in and we can figure this out.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Just exactly my point. You know, I know Nick is a very, very hard worker. Sometimes he gets up in the middle of the night and goes, try to get some people service. I was one of them where I was drilling in the ocean, 30 days on, 30 days off. Sometimes we don't have that time to come and clean our car. Just like Mary, she had an accident. Just because it's an eyesore for somebody, I don't think it's fair for her that she's unable to do it. Okay? Once again, we were in that drought. You want everybody to be washing their car? Just imagine 10,000 people washing their car. It's pretty dusty in Coalinga. When we get those dry years, we get that wind going, we had a spout of water, spiders, critters. I'm running into spider webs, even riding my bike. So, I mean, and I'm not talking about storing a car and putting like just exactly what I explained. That I don't, it's not a car that you're putting boxes and everything, But if you have a car, that is stored there, it's gonna work on, and it's not registered or something. There's a lot that are going through that scenario. There's people that build mud trucks for the mud bogs. They're not even registered. Some of them don't even have VIN numbers because they start them from scrap. And it's, I just want to make sure that if it's in your driveway, it's in your driveway, not in your front yard. And that doesn't mean put cement in front of your yard and store your cars. I'm talking about your driveway, talking that area. And that's basically my point. But I like to fix the language and make sure that we come to an agreement.
Is that enough information?
I'll just bring back a lot of scenarios and you guys can pick from them.
I still think we should, as we're discussing this, at least get with the committee that we have started and get some more ideas that way. And then once we hold the public hearings, then we'll be able to get some more information as well and then base it off of that. So it might take 3-4 months before we get it finalized. So it's okay. Okay, now on to item number 7, announcements. First one we have city manager's announcements.
I don't have any now because I went over that during the code of conduct item unless I needed to provide additional clarification. Okay, we're good.
Council?
Oh, sorry. I just saw a text from the chief. We have fire prevention open house Saturday, October 14th from 10 to 2. And also the police department has an event on Saturday from 9 to 11 just outside the PD. Oh, in the parking lot across the street from the police department.
I just want to say that I've ran into a lot of individuals that are from out of town, just passing through our little town, and they're very happy with our town. They're very happy with their policing, with fire department. There's a couple family that broke down out on I-5, and they were from Montana, going all the way down to Central America. And they broke down, and they couldn't believe that our little town Somebody helped them, and I thank for that person that helped them. They didn't charge them to fix their car, once again. But they really fell in love with the town, and they were so grateful that individuals like that still exist, towns like that still exist. That one of the officers, I don't know the name that she said, but was making sure that they were okay. They were staying at the Best Western. They walked around our town, and they just loved it. And they said they will probably even come back and move here. So, just want to say thank you to the fire department staff, everybody. Once again, Coalinga's playing Avenel this Friday. So, another thing, West Hills is doing great on their volleyball. They're undefeated. If you have a chance to check out their, our local sports, our local events, come out. It's very, very nice view and very nice things. Thank you.
Any others?
So, I have one. So, yesterday, I took it upon myself to go and talk to the State Water Board, which was quite an interesting scenario. I was completely amazed and shocked. There was a room of between 100 and 200 people, and I would say most of them were either consultants, water board members, consultants, lobbyists. The entire room was full of people who are making money. They're making money off of this. And it was all about conservation. It was all about making conservation a way of life in California. It had nothing to do with the drought. It had just straight up to do with taking the amount of water that we use down to 42 gallons. 42 or 44 gallons. And I was really shocked to hear that there was almost no human element being given by those that were on the panels. On the panels and their staff, we're talking conservationists, we're talking environmentalists, we're talking about people that don't live, in my opinion, in the world that we live in here in Coalinga, California. And so I went to give them that human element. We spoke about valley fever. We spoke about jobs that would be lost. Spoke about farmers that needed water. Spoke about the fact that the entire time they're talking about taking away grass, but yet right in the public health it says that one way you fight valley fever is with grass. And so what I asked from them was flexibility, and if they could be flexible. And after I left, I listened on the way home, and that meeting lasted from 9 till 9, about a 12-hour meeting. Bless these souls that had to listen to everybody. But one board member's response in general, and I'm not going to name this board member, but they said, "We gave you the flexibility to raise rates, use the Prop 218 process to collect more money from those who can afford to pay to cover those that can't. That's how we achieve equity." And then the commenter said this is unsympathetic, unyielding, and it was clear that after 8 hours of comments that this did not equal, it went in one ear and out the other. And basically, I have no confidence that this group of people is going to consider small Coalinga and rural towns in this scenario. So buckle up, because this is going to be an interesting thing. And person after person, I do mean at least 20 experts, came forward, and not even one thought it was a good idea to wait. They all said mandate the 42 gallons, and it was all based on their empirical data. I kind of felt like it was an Al Gore moment, that I was sitting listening to people pledge the end of the world that may or may not ever come. But the person like me got up there and said, well, because they were talking about trust issues. And I said, well, you have trust issues, because when we see Orville, that's releasing 15,000 CFS in 24 hours, which is likely enough to produce enough water for 150,000 people for a year. And they're doing this daily for power, for electric vehicles, and then shifting the water to the ocean, literally to the ocean, to create a saltwater buffer. I told them that this doesn't give us, we don't trust that scenario. And you know what? The entire meeting, I heard person after person that were in areas of us come and talk about that. And I didn't hear the board or any of their panelists even recognize that as something. And I asked them, what happened to the Prop 1 money that was supposed to be used for the bonds to build more storage? And you're going to think about another bond, but how could we trust you on the first bond? And I think this is important. That's why I'm using my announcement time to tell people to get involved with this water thing, because if you're not at the table, then you are on the menu. And I have a feeling that the entire Central Valley is on the menu. And they have panelists that don't share our way of life at all. And so that's all I want to say, is that everyone needs to get involved with this water thing however you possibly can. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any more? Okay, I have a quick announcement. On October 21st, right down here downtown on the plaza, we are doing our Oktoberfest. And it will be from 11 o'clock to 9 p.m. Right now, we've got roughly about 80 different vendors and still getting more. We have live music. We've got a couple different things. We've actually got it's the Huskow, our jail that we had built a couple years ago. They've got it set up where it's, I'm trying to think what it's called, the mystery. Yeah, it's like a mystery escape room. They give you, there's a certain cost for it. You've got so much time to be able to solve this and get out, or you're actually stuck in there. So that's another thing to come and check out, something completely different. We're also going to have the Trunk for Treats as well that evening. So be sure to bring your kids down in costumes and have a lot of fun. Okay, we'll move on to our next item, future agenda items. Council? I have one. Can we get a cost of what it would take to install electrical outlets in front of each one of us up on the counter instead of underneath the tables and get rid of those cords? Up on the dais itself, putting power outlet up here instead of down on the floor with all the cords. We've got tape and stuff holding everything down, so it would be a little safer. And that's all I have for now. Move on to closed session items. We have 4 this evening. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting until October 19th, Thursday. Thank you, everybody, for coming.